Hi, I'm Randy Pierson, Vice President of Life and Annuities for Gordon Marketing, and today with me I've got Tim Luby, our RVP in the annuity space. And if you're selling annuities, finding the best product to secure a high guaranteed income is probably a top priority for you. If you want to learn more about how we can help you in that endeavor, stay tuned. All right, Tim. So annuity producers out there, or aspiring annuity producers out there that want to try to help their clients secure top levels of income during retirement, what are some of the things that they need to be on the lookout for, and or, what's hot, what's new, what's different right now?
Right. Well, I guess the biggest thing to do for an advisor is to consider the risks that clients need to consider when they look at retirement. And probably the chief among those is market risk, which, with index annuities, we don't have too much of. Inflation risk in terms of the purchasing power, the dollar will buy down the road. And one big one is longevity risk. Mm-hmm. And probably nothing addresses longevity risk better than annuities when it comes to retirement income.
Okay, so when we think about longevity risk, what are we talking about there? I mean, what is the risk to the consumer from a longevity issue, right?
The risk is that they live longer than their income lasts.
All right. Very good. I'm thinking about it, and that was the one, that's the number one, right? And I'm thinking about another one as well, which is, the longer you live, and we're going through this right now, high inflationary periods, right? Do we have some annuity products that can both address that longevity issue as well as protecting the consumer against increasing inflation?
We do have some pretty good solutions for that. They're not as prevalent, the ones that are probably more inclined to address inflation as they do. But in many cases, we can offer guaranteed income that cannot be outlived. But we have some unique solutions that often don't spreadsheet as well, but they're pretty good for addressing an income that can increase for a period of time. Not necessarily all the time, but for a period of time that can make a big difference.
Yeah. So, I think generally speaking, we would all agree that most Americans, males and females, or females and males, are living longer. And they want to make sure that income can keep pace with that longevity. It's a big issue that, frankly, I don't think is addressed as much as it should be, and probably hasn't because we've been in such a prolonged low inflation rate environment. But so what are some of the other ones, nuances within the income space? I mean, what's really driving sales right now?
Well, there's a different ways to go about guaranteed income. For the industry, the primary thing for years was annuitization. That was the most often way people took income from annuities. And annuities designed to build up and distribute retirement income. And annuitization was the key. We do much less annuitization now. And the biggest reason is when you annuitize, you basically give up the asset in exchange for the income.
Yep.
There's new innovative solutions out there today where you can get an income guaranteed to last as long as you and your wife live, but you don't have to give up the asset. Right. It's still yours for as long as it lasts.
And so for those lay agents out there, those agents that aren't intimately familiar with the annuity space, what that means to their client is what, right? I mean, they take out annuity for a period of time, but if they should happen to need it or change their mind, there's still cash in the product, right?
Absolutely, right. Yeah, they can get an income guaranteed for as long as they live if they wish, but the account value is still theirs for as long as it lasts. It's going down. If they're taking an income, it's going down, and it will go away if they exceed their life expectancy. But if that doesn't happen and there's cash value left, it's paid as a death benefit to their beneficiaries.
Okay. All right. Very good. So some of these products that are out there that have some of these, new enhancements, attractive features, are there increased suitability issues or hoops that have to be jumped through, or, are there any speed bumps or pitfalls that you find in helping agents with these cases?
Not too much. If anything, from an income standpoint, a lot of times suitability can be a little bit easier because when someone needs income, they need income. Mm-hmm. And so it's a little harder to argue for the insurance company to argue that a client's not better off if you're providing a higher income or a guaranteed income, or maybe an income that's guaranteed for both of them, whereas before something else would only guarantee it for one of them. That's a big one that we run into a lot. Very common for pension plans and retirement plans to offer an income just on him or just on her, and have it reduced by 50% or go away completely if that person dies. So we can reposition that in an annuity that guarantees the income for as long as either one of them lives.
So I know that in a recent video, you and I were chatting a bit about suitability in annuity sales, and that frequently carriers will limit the amount of money that a consumer is allowed to put into annuities. However, if a client is of an older age and their number one priority is, I want to guarantee as much cash flow, as much income as I can for the rest of my life, why couldn't they put 90 or even 100% of their available capital into an annuity?
90 or 100 is going to be a stretch, but go above the normal limits. If the normal is 50, 60, maybe 70, if it's income for the right reasons for someone that needs it, you might be able to push that number up a little bit. Not necessarily with all carriers, but with some. The whole thing with suitability is, and we touched on this earlier in the other video, is it has to make sense for the client. Although there are times when it really does seem to make sense, but we still find carriers not wanting to do it from a suitability standpoint. Income, though, we run into that less often.
Yeah, I'm betting if we had a carrier sitting here, or a suitability officer, a compliance officer, they would say, well, we want to make sure that they have those additional assets liquid, right? But the problem in my mind is that most of those consumers, that money isn't sitting in the bank. It's not probably sitting in CDs. It's probably going where? I'm thinking probably a brokerage account,
right,
or some other investment.
And maybe subject to market risk.
That could be subject to market risk. Right. Exactly.
Right.
And so, I get it, right? I understand that the industry in general, and carriers in specific, have to make sure that they help perhaps potentially clients from harming themselves, right? Consumers from harming themselves, or potentially agents from overselling the product. But, I think you hit the nail on the head a few moments ago. Every case is different, right? Every case is different. So listen, Tim, regrettably, it's amazing how fast time flies when we're having fun here. This video is rapidly coming to an end, but if we have an agent out there that's watching this video and they learned a little bit of something and maybe they've got a case, how can they reach you for help and support?
They can reach me directly at extension 213 at Gordon Marketing. They can also email me if they wish at timl@gordonmarketing.com. And of course, we've got a team here, the Annuity Team, so anybody in the Annuity Team can help.
Absolutely. Speaking of helping, one thing I wanted to mention before we call this video to an end is the podcast that we started doing recently. We're recording these podcasts where we do about 30 to 40 minutes of a deeper dive into some of these products and concepts and subject matter. And so if you want to learn more about our podcast, maybe listen into a few of them, click the description below and you'll find how to access them. And by the way, while you're clicking, be sure to click subscribe as well as the notification bell so that every time we come out with new content from a video perspective, you'll be sure and hear about it. But from Tim Luby and myself, I want to wish you happy selling.